Well,
And
you know some pretty impressive people, so I think we'll be okay. I think.
I think we'll be fine. I've been getting to know you, and what's so incredibly impressive about you is the volume of,
Well, you know some pretty
whoa,
impressive people,
what is
so
going on my computer? Oh, see, now look at this.
fine. I've
You
been
know,
getting to know.
wow. Facebook just takes on a life of its own and opened a window on my computer. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
Um, how, okay, for people out there that don't know, Tim has a YouTube channel that is, how many subscribers do you have, Tim?
Close to 600,000 on YouTube. Yeah.
600,000 subscribers on YouTube. And how often do you put up new content?
Once a week or twice a week. I got started on YouTube a long time ago when it was easier, so I built it when it was easier. And I have friends who do 3 times a week. There's a gentleman in our space, a guitar player, who does twice a day. But for me, I'm using it to actually get eyeballs to my master class. So it's not so much about doing a lot of YouTube videos. It's about doing videos that hopefully get a lot of views that I work really hard on. I work too hard on them. And now we do just 2 or 3 times a month. I used to do it religiously once a week, but now it's a little more optional. But I keep doing it. I'm not stopping.
Okay, so I love that. So this brings me, we have to like go back a ways because you're one of the few musicians that I have spoken to that prefers or preferred session work to touring. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, that blows my mind. When you were a kid, what was the dream?
Okay. This is a great subject for me. When I was a kid, I had the same dream as anybody. I wanted to do anything musical, be on the road, be in a band, be in Led Zeppelin, be in ZZ
Sure.
Top, be in Stray Dog, be in any band. I wanted to be that guy. And then at a certain point, I got close to age 21. I just wanted to move to LA and be a working musician. I had, uh, anything. And I came here, and luckily the environment was so open, and there was so much going on, I was able to start working right away. And when I got here, I did a John Waite record, and I did a Bon Jovi record in New York. But the thing that really got me that touring experience was Rick Springfield. I did one of his records. He had just had his big success with Jesse's Girl. He was also on General Hospital. He was changing out his band, and I got to be his guitar player. And
Now,
so
what made that different for you? What made you become part of that band rather than just doing the recording?
I wasn't a good enough studio musician yet to be able to do that. Like when I moved here in 1980, I was still 10 years away from having the complete set of skills that you would need to do records every day. So when guys like Steve Lukather were already there and already formed, even Dan Huff when he came here, I was still kind of learning on the job. So it was perfect for me to develop my skills over that decade. I did a lot of songwriting demos, and that's actually where I really learned the craft of
Okay,
getting
so
any
wait, so
sound.
so so take us, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but how did that start for you? So if you weren't like a proficient studio musician yet, how did you get that John Wayne? How'd you get the Bon Jovi?
Well, you didn't have to be Steve Lukather to actually work. There were a lot of, I was good
Yeah, but you would
enough.
have had to have the stage chops for people like the guys I know who were doing sessions in New York were playing all the clubs. Were you doing that?
No,
No, so how did you do
the thing
this?
is, studio musicians at the very top have a level of versatility that's not always apparent.
Right.
And unless you're actually in that environment, you don't really know who the guys who can do everything well are and who the guys who specialize. And even in the film industry now, when I would do films, they would call me a specialist. And that was a kind way of saying he does one thing really well, but not everything really well.
Yeah.
So I was just one of those guys. I did rock really well, and so I got work in rock easily and immediately.
Okay,
So
but
that's
let's
the
talk
answer.
about how that, because there was a beginning to this story.
Mhm.
And I'm really curious how that path formed because you have a very unique career. Because you are abundantly successful. You are so massively successful, and there were probably a lot of people who don't know your name, right?
There are or were.
there are a lot of people currently who have no idea all this. Now, of course, musicians, people that read the liner notes know who you are, but people who just listen to the music might not.
Well, that's the job, really, when you are in the studio. There used to be liner notes, not so much any longer.
Mhm.
But I mean, your original question was, why did I not want to be on stage? Why did I want to be in the
Right.
studio? And the reason for that is I got the experience being on the road with Rick, and it was a wonderful environment. I got to do a little writing. He took really good care of me. We became friends, and we're friends to this day. Uh, on the road, you are either traveling or waiting 22 hours a day, and then you get up and do a show that usually you have to try and do the same show every night. There are some exceptions to that, some bands where you get to improvise and stretch out. But in that particular situation, we were just trying to do the best show we could, which
Hmm.
was kind of the same every night. So you're not really creating anything new on the road. Now that's fine if you're, selling tons of t-shirts and coming home with, you know, the proceeds of all of this work out on the road, but it is a lot of dead time. And I just really what really happened to me that caused me to actually start turning down every single tour. Jeff Porcaro was going to do his first record production, and he was going to produce a Boz Scaggs record, and he called me to play on it because we had been doing sessions together, and we formed a friendship from showing up early at studios because he lived in Hidden Hills and he wanted to beat the traffic, and I was just so afraid my gear wouldn't work properly. I'd get there early and set it all up. So we would jam. We'd be the only two people in the studio at 9:30 in the morning for an 11 o'clock call. And we would jam. And we got I mean, it was pretty otherworldly. He called me to do his first record. It was a Boz Scaggs record. And I was on the road with Al Jarreau and I couldn't do it. And I said to myself, I'm never missing one of those sessions again. I'm going to turn down every tour. And I ended up doing 5 Joe Cocker records, and I did one with him in the '90s. And he asked me to go on the road, and I turned it down. Then they changed the offer, and I turned it down. Then they changed the offer again. I turned it down, and it was because I was resolved to never lose a studio session again. And the reason for that is when you're doing a studio session, there may be an engineer there, a second engineer, there might be somebody in the hallway. You are actually making connections 100% of the time that lead to other connections. And all of those connections actually, they don't flower if you're in Wisconsin or Idaho doing a gig. So I really knew that. And that summer I didn't work much and I felt a lot of regret about turning down Joe's tour. But I'm sure I made some connections that led to other things. And after about 6 months, it didn't matter. So that's the answer to the question that you asked. I wanted to be in the laboratory because I was a fan of records and I wanted to, I didn't want to miss the next Jeff Porcaro call. It's like,
It's so interesting because every session musician I know, like Luke, like Lee Sklar, Russ Kunkel, all these guys, they love being on stage. They could never give that part of it up.
I always thought it
And
was artificial. Yeah, it wasn't my thing. Yeah.
there's like no ego here at all.
No, there's ego. It was more important to me to play. You got to realize. Well, you don't have to realize anything. It's just, yeah, I'm kind of odd that way. I
But
like,
it's also you were saying it before, there's a lot of variety in what you do. Whereas if you're doing a tour, you're doing
well,
the
it's
same
not
thing.
only variety, you show up and you have no idea if you're even going to get through it because it's brand new every day. So it's every day is the first day of school.
Oh, so you're like an adrenaline junkie, maybe a little bit.
No, it just came with the
No?
job. I just liked what happened during the day and I liked knowing that what we were doing was permanent. It wasn't just, disappearing into the air somewhere on a stage.
Wow. There's also a lot of confidence that's needed. Well, there's a ton of confidence that's needed to know that you can go in there and you can do it.
I never really had that. I mean, Snuffy and I have talked about that. I've never really had that, but if you go in and you take a deep breath and let your higher power take it from you,
We'll get to that
whatever
higher
it
power
takes.
thing.
Yeah, whatever it
Has it
takes.
ever
So,
failed you? Have you ever not been able to deliver? I bet that's never happened.
absolutely, yes, absolutely.
Can you give us an example?
I did a Chicago record. My buddies were in Chicago, and the guitar player couldn't make this session. And Mervyn Warren was producing this particular record. He's one of the singers in Take Six. I think he's the leader.
Hmm.
And I went up to his studio, and Cartage came and set me up. And we worked for a little while, and he said, "You're playing two behind." And I don't, what do you mean, man? You're playing two behind. You're playing two behind. I use Paul Jackson Jr. all the time. You're playing two behind. And then he finally looked at me and said, "You know what? This is not going to work." And he let me go. And it was, what had
Wow.
happened was I spent my entire uh, first part of my career learning to lay back because before the grid and the computer, musicians always tried to sit back. Look at that. I have to do with the is the camera moving on your end or
Your
not?
camera's been moving this whole time.
Okay, I hope it's a
Yeah.
good thing. Anyway, so I in around the year 2000, I had to learn not to lay back because everything started being on the grid. And he was right, actually. I had spent, 20 years trying to lay back,
Mm.
lay back. But now everything needed to be on the grid. So I'm sure I could think of a few more, but that was one that didn't work.
Okay, so let's go back again because I'm still curious about how you got to this path. So you're a kid, you're in New Mexico? You're in
Albuquerque,
New
New Mexico,
Mexico.
yeah.
Okay. Your parents not musicians, correct?
No,
Okay. And so and your love for music came from
oh, this
what
is the
started it?
perfect, you give me the perfect entrance.
Okay.
My love of music comes from top 40 radio in the 60s. I was born in 1958, and by the time I was 3, I was walking on air every time I heard a song on the radio. One of the first ones that I fell in love with was Downtown.
Oh, I love that song.
Yeah. Who did that? Was it
Petula Clark.
Petula Clark? Yeah. And then, of course, Peter, Paul, and Mary, Glenn Campbell, every single
Oh,
song
I
by
heard
every
you say somewhere that Wichita Lineman is like your favorite song of all time.
favorite record of all time. Absolutely. Yes, yes, absolutely.
And
So
why is
top
that?
it's
Is it the way it makes you feel? Is it
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, it really puts me, like flying through the air over, the desert Southwest or whatever. The chord changes, the vocal, the melody, the orchestra, poignant, plaintive, sad, hopeful, you know,
Okay,
all
sorry,
that
I didn't
stuff.
mean to interrupt you. Okay,
Lonely.
so no, yeah, it is lonely,
Look at
isn't it?
that. We're changing. God, how do we? Sorry about that. Anyway, top 40 radio in the 60s. That's my love of music, and started playing guitar at age 12 and just got obsessed with it.
Why
Uh,
guitar, Tim?
uh, I think it was just easy. No, no, I remember what it was. It was Hendrix. It was like, it's a pretty typical answer for a guitar player of my age, but it was
Hmm.
Are You Experienced? And then Clapton, BB King, ZZ Top, all the
You know,
all
I
the band.
noticed you've never mentioned that I've heard Jeff Beck. Was he not one of your heroes?
No, I loved him. I just chased a
Hmm.
different style,
Hmm.
pretty much. I always loved him. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I'll tell you what it was. I was I was in love with the songs primarily, and the guitar was secondary. And
Hmm.
so I was in love with bands that wrote amazing songs, and Stairway to Heaven was amazing. So and while Jeff Beck was amazing, and his songs, some of which were amazing, and he had the band with Max Middleton.
Hmm.
Um, but I was more obsessed with songs than with guitar playing and how guitar worked in songs. So that maybe help you with that definition.
Did you write songs?
I tried. Yeah, I tried.
And that's past tense. You don't do that anymore.
Okay, so I wrote songs until I was in my 30s, and when I gave up songwriting, my guitar career skyrocketed because I wasn't distracted by that quest.
There's a lot of ambition in your story.
Well, the thing is, I was working with like the greatest songwriters in the world, and
Mhm.
I thought I'll just let them do that, and I'll do what I do. So,
Well, you really know yourself too. And another thing that I really picked up on in everything that I listened to when you were speaking, you really read the room,
yes,
right?
yes.
You really read the room. Like you know what, you figure out your part, what's wanted. And I guess that's why you're so great at what you do.
Well, it's one of the reasons probably. I have a lot of empathy, and so I am always trying to tune into how people are feeling, and
Mm.
it ends up being very fatiguing. But in a musical situation, where you're trying to win all the time, I really do pay attention to how people are feeling, and if they're on board, if they're full of enthusiasm, or if they start to get bored, on board or get bored, and me that, but I don't want to lose anybody. If you that's the worst thing. If you're in the studio and you're working, you don't want to lose anybody's enthusiasm or attention or interest. So you really have to pour it on. That's part of it. But I think reading the room is something all collaborative musicians do. I don't know that I'm special in that regard, but um,
But I
one
think you do,
here's
I
what.
think you do it beyond the room. I think you read the room of life.
Well, maybe. I mean, uh, yeah, I have a tendency to please people too much,
Mm.
and that can actually, you can end up getting really fatigued by that. You have to be
Mhm.
careful out in the world not to do that too much. But the thing that made me good in the studio was I was orchestrating guitar parts for songs rather than just playing guitar. So I would take a simple guitar part and make it simpler and make it simpler and make it simpler because that's what the song required. So I was thinking about making the chorus open like it's this giant, you know, big piece of sky or whatever. And I wasn't thinking about a guitar part. I was thinking about orchestrating to make the song expand and change and snake through stuff.
Can you give an example?
Well, I can't really do it without having a song up, but it's not that unusual. There are other guitar players who do this, but what I would do is you might double the acoustics, and then you would play something dreamy and double that, and then
Yeah,
you
but I
would
mean,
do
can
some
you give us an
signature.
example of a song that you did that on, where that exists, that orchestration?
Not really, not right now,
Okay,
not off the
all
top of my
right.
head.
So, all right. So you pick up the guitar because not because it was the easiest. Why did you say you picked up the guitar for at 13?
Well, it was Hendrix.
Oh, Hendrix.
Yeah.
Okay. So you pick it up because of Hendrix, and the dream then is to do the rock band thing and do all
Yeah,
of that.
yeah.
And so do you study?
I had a teacher for 2 years. So I'm pretty much self-taught. So I went for a half an hour once a week for 2 years and got some basics, and then I was self-taught after that. And I ended up joining a band with my teacher. He was an amazing New Mexico legend named Steve Mays, and
Wow. Do
changed
you
the lives
read?
of a lot of people. I don't, not really, not really. I read chord charts, yeah, so I
Hmm.
don't really read.
Oh, Snuffy doesn't either,
No, I know we share that. Yeah, I share
which
that.
is crazy. Okay, so at the time, the dream is to play. So you play in bands, and are you gigging and making money doing it, or are you just doing
In
it for?
Albuquerque, yeah. In Albuquerque, I'm gigging, making money, and then drove out to LA when I was 21, and it was
Mhm.
very easy to get work because there were no cell phones and no computers. Every musician had to make music by being in a room with other musicians. So I met one musician, and then I met three others, and those three introduced me to three others. So you go, 1, 3, 9, 18, whatever exponentially you just start meeting more and more people, and it's like the branches of a tree that go out. So that's what happened. The more people you meet, the more people they introduce you to, and you just start I started working
There's a
very
secret
quickly.
to that, though, too, because they don't introduce everybody to everybody.
Yeah, I
You
mean, I guess I had enough skill to where they said give this guy a try, and I
and
tried to.
likability
That too,
and
yeah.
and uh, showing up on time and being professional,
Getting
right?
that parking space.
Getting the parking space, being prepared. So you got to LA, and so who were you playing with when you first got out here?
It's you wouldn't know any of the names, but the first record I did was a band called Shandy. It was a woman who was connected to Mike Chapman, and they were a couple of he and Nikki. What was the guy's name? Mike Chapman and Nikki somebody. They had a big record company, so I did that. And then after being here 2 years, I got to do the John Waite record in New York with Neil Giraldo, which was wonderful. Neil and I are
Okay,
still
now how
friends.
did that come to pass? How did
I
you
was
get to
roommates
do?
with the bass player in the Babies, and
Okay.
the Babies were John Waite, and
Yes.
I got introduced to John, and he said, "Let's do it."
And did John say, "Come on the road with me"?
He did, but I had already had the offer from Rick Springfield, so I had to say no to John so I could do Rick.
Okay, so that was the period that you did Rick. I found something also fascinating that you did pretty much all of the guitars on Bon Jovi's first album, correct?
On no, but
Oh,
his first single.
his
Okay,
first
so there's a
single.
song called "Runaway," and when I was in New York with John Waite, I met Bon Jovi because he was living upstairs, and we did 8 demos, master demos, at the power station. Which you had to have a studio back then to do demos.
Right?
And one of those songs was "Runaway," and the band couldn't beat it. We were fully credited on the record. It's wonderful. And yeah, that's all me. All the guitars on "Runaway." Kind of a classic old rock song, his first hit.
So now that's pre-Richie Sambora?
What happened was the band wasn't together yet. So the demos were done. It was
Mhm.
me and Roy Bittan from the E Street Band. And I think the bass player was Huey from Bon Jovi, a drummer named Frankie LaRocca, and another guitar player named Aldo Nova. And so that band did the demos. And then John, he actually came out here and asked me about musicians. I took him to Casa Vega, him and David Bryan, his keyboard player. I had already had the gig with Rick, so there was no way, and I didn't have the image for it anyway. But and so I gave him a couple of names, but he did the right thing by getting guys from his neighborhood.
So wait, so you already had Springfield when you were playing? Oh, so there wasn't even
It all
opportunity for
happened
him
at the
to
same
ask you.
time, yeah.
So there was
And
no
and
opportunity for him to ask you to go on the road with him.
I didn't have the image first of all, but
Mhm.
he was at the
You
beginning
didn't
of his
have that. Did
career.
you have the hair? You didn't have that
I
hair.
had bad hair,
I saw your hair.
but he was. How do I put this? He was just a guy with a lot of ambition and a lot of focus. And Rick
Hmm.
Springfield at that time was the biggest star in America, absolutely.
Hmm.
So I took the gig. Sorry about that. I took the gig that John Bon Jovi was just he didn't even have his first record deal, so I wasn't gonna move to the East Coast and join a band that I didn't look right in.
Okay, so now, but Rick was like the rock star. I mean, he was
At that
such a,
moment, yeah,
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 but he also looked the part. He still looks pretty damn good.
yeah.
So what was that like for you? Had you done any big gigs prior to on
Not
stage
really, not
prior
big
to?
stage. It was amazing. We did Live Aid right away. I mean, we did. It was incredible. We did huge gigs. Just jumped into this giant touring machine, doing huge gigs. It was amazing.
And so did you liked it, but it doesn't, you must not have loved it because you didn't
Well,
seek it out.
after doing it for 5 years, I I knew that I didn't want to do it as a career. It's a dead end if you're a sideman.
Okay, so again, tell me the reasons why.
22 hours of doing nothing and basically doing the same thing every night and losing all the connections that you have at home. There's so many things about it that are destructive.
Okay. So you knew then what you wanted to do.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so you came back from so what ended that with Rick Springfield?
I he kind of retired for a second. I mean, he's been incredibly active for the last 30 years, but at that moment in the late 80s, he wanted to take a break, so it was very easy, very easy. And he may have asked me, we're still friends. I texted him yesterday, but he may have asked me, um, and I was already too busy, or he knew I was too busy, and he got a young friend of mine. I think Keith Howland started doing it first, but yeah.
Okay, so okay, so you finish up with Springfield, and you come back to LA, and how do you get after being on the road for 4 years, how do you get that motor running?
Well, I did a couple of other things, or was it one other thing? I did a Crowded House song called "Don't Dream It's Over,"
Oh yes.
and that was a record project that I played on the whole thing with Mitchell Froom, and that became a favorite for songwriters. So every
Hmm.
songwriter wanted me to come do their demo session. So in the late 80s, I would do 2 and 3 songs a day for songwriters, song demos. And then that actually was my ladder into the session world. And by 1990, I was beginning to do sessions on record dates every day.
Every day.
Mhm.
And so would you like run into like so it was you and Lukather and Michael Landau. I mean, there was like this group of
Well, I was a
you.
little after that. See, those guys, it was me and Michael Thompson,
Okay.
basically,
Mm-hmm.
and Michael Thompson more than me, and Rusty Anderson. So this was a
Sure.
little later. This was 90s. So
Okay.
at that point, Lukather was doing Toto full time.
Right.
Huff was here for a while, but he moved back to Nashville to, be a player there and then a big producer. And so it was more Michael Thompson at the top, me somewhere on the list, Rusty Anderson on the list.
But didn't
And
Rusty get McCarthy in the
that
early?
happened later. That happened later
Okay.
in the 90s, but he still
Mm-hmm.
would do records. But it was a slightly different list of guys at that point. Landau was doing more of his own thing. He would do select gigs, big records, but he was very selective, Michael. Yeah,
And he was also, I don't know when he started touring with James Taylor. Maybe that was more recent,
it
but
was later. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So was it a competitive thing? And was there a competition?
Well, there always was and always is and always will
Hmm.
be. It's nothing. Guitar players are pretty friendly with each other, as are drummers, but you just did your best. And Michael Thompson helped me with a couple of sounds. Very, very generous. And these days, because I am too busy doing my new business to do sessions, I send my work to Andrew Sinewick, who's a phenomenal guitar player and a good friend. And Michael Landau got me on a Faith Hill record. Jeff Porcaro got me on a couple of records. People recommended me for stuff, and I would recommend them. So it's competitive, but people take care of each other.
And were there certain players that whenever they were doing it, like you and Jeff Porcaro, did you do a lot of stuff together?
I did in the 90s, yeah, a
Hmm.
lot. Yeah, we would show up early, like I said, and jam.
I love Steve. I know his brother pretty well. That's
I
quite
love
the
Steve too. Yes,
yes, you do.
yes, yeah,
And he's there, quite the family over there.
yeah.
So okay, so this other little business that you've got going on. Whew, okay, you said it was easier to start a YouTube channel back in the day.
Yes.
How and why did you do that?
Well, I was approaching, no, I was, I think, 52 years old, and the business was changing in that there was less money for session work. And I was just looking at the future going, how do I navigate this next chapter? So if session work was changing
Hmm.
and I was getting older, so any musician is going to age out at a certain point. But in addition to that, the frankly, the environment had become, let's do twice as much work for half as much money. Okay, so I was going, okay, what could I do next? And I met through one friend, Brett Papa, I met Marty Schwartz, and Marty Schwartz and Justin Sanderco were the two big teachers on YouTube. And Marty Schwartz and his partner were doing seven-figure years selling educational products, which at that time were DVDs. And I thought if I could do even a fraction of that, I'd be fine. So what I'm talking about is you're making an educational product that's digital. You've made it, you sell it, so you don't have to be there to earn the money. So the business I'm in right now, it's a membership I sell to guitar players. They pay once a year. I have thousands and thousands of members, and
Is it
I don't have to be
expensive?
there. No,
Okay.
I don't have to be there. It's a product rather than a service. So the actual product earns the money while we're doing this, or while I'm eating lunch, or while I'm on vacation. It's not a service, it's a product. So
It's a
they buy
pro.
this collection of educational videos that's ever expanding. So when I saw Marty Schwartz had done that, I thought, well, this scales. I'm going to try this. I mean, I know it'll be okay, but what happened was,
So that was in your head from the beginning.
oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. What happened was we built the business, we got it going, And then I had a WordPress website that got hacked a couple of times, and I thought, okay, I got to build a new business. I got to build a new platform. So we went to Kajabi. We spent months transferring everything over. We got this brand new shiny website built, and we finished it the first week of the lockdown. And so what happened was our new, shiny new website debuted the first week of the lockdown, and everything just,
You were in the
everything,
right place at the right
yeah, it just
time.
everybody just wanted to stay home and play guitar, so it just kind of
Wow.
went through the roof. So, and it's been good ever since then too. But it was just a wonderful, uh, serendipitous thing. I have four employees, one full time, three part time, and I don't really want to grow it anymore because it's right sized as it is.
How
And
many people are signed up for the master class?
well, that I'd rather keep.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just let me say it's thousands and thousands.
Yes, gotcha. And there are people like Snuffy who sit down with your master class and take the class.
Yeah,
So there are a lot of people from now can you be a beginner and sit down with your
I finally did a beginner's course a couple of years ago, and we're very proud of that. It's basically 100 videos for beginners. I mean, I'm talking about holding the guitar, holding the pick, the
wow.
very, very,
Is
very
it just
beginning.
electric?
No, acoustic too, yeah.
Mhm.
And then it goes into a late beginner course that's and you can buy that separately. We're going to offer it separately soon. And then another course called Mapping the Fretboard. So the beginner's course is 100 videos, and then it goes into a late beginner thing that's probably 50 or 60 videos, and then another course that's 20 videos, and those bring you into the early intermediate stages.
And then the master class, which
With the master class is mostly intermediate. The master class is about 3,000 videos now and about 200 hours of content from me and other guitar players. I've started to add other guitar players to the curriculum.
so can you give us an example of for those who out there who are watching who might not know anything about this, what might a master class look like?
Well, the master class is just a shiny name for a collection of educational videos. So there is no master class where I'm sitting with people. It's just me doing these videos.
Right.
I do
But
live streams, but so what it is I'm just teaching people a major scale or a minor scale or Mixolydian or certain chord shapes or triads. Just, simple stuff to get around pop, rock, R&B, soul, funk, country, folk, R&B, pop, rock.
but with all of those videos, I'm assuming you get pretty specific with things. Like how
Oh, it's
specific?
granular. It's like take your third finger on the seventh fret, put these two fingers behind it for strength, pull up to match the pitch at the ninth fret, pull down, don't pick too hard. Here we go. We're going to count really slowly. Yeah, it's,
This is the part that Snuffy loves because you really explain how you get certain sounds that he might not have discovered
that's great.
on
That's
his
great.
own, which is amazing. And as I said, I know a few other guitarists who are professional guitarists who take your classes.
That's wonderful. That's just,
And so
just
does
makes me
this
happy.
fulfill you? So are you not doing session work anymore? Do you do less
No,
session?
I have one person that I do session work for, but you know what, Vicky? When I do sessions now, I don't charge. Steve Porcaro came over a couple of months ago and had me play on a couple of songs that I won't talk about because I don't know if I'm allowed to. And I said, I'm not going to charge you. And then he said, well, in order to make this legal, you have to charge me. So I charged him something, but I don't charge for sessions. But I do I do a session once every few months. I just give them all to Andrew Sinowick. It's just that chapter's closed.
That chapter's closed. So if what if it was somebody that you've always dreamt of playing with?
They'd have to do it on my terms. I don't. I just it's like it's like I'm not going to go to you know what? I'm. T- I don't think I'm a session musician anymore.
Hmm.
And those are my terms. It's like come over and we'll do something. And if you like it, we can do it. That's really what it is I don't even have a session rig anymore.
Do you not miss creating? Well, you are creating. Are
I
you
don't miss it at
creating?
all. Yeah,
You don't.
I make music for myself all the time. So what I do is I make these songs and these tracks, and I get Victor Indrizzo to play drums and Jeff Babco to play keyboards, and their performances get better every time you hear them. Jeff Babco, you hire Jeff Babco to play keyboards, and a year later his parts sound even better than they did at first. So
We
I'm
share a
constantly writing music.
housekeeper.
Huh?
We share a housekeeper.
Oh.
Marta is in the home of Jeff Popko and
Oh yeah.
Iris.
Well, if you ever get a chance, get him over and play some music with him because he's amazing.
So this is extraordinary. I mean, if I feel like you're a pioneer in this.
Well, I'm not. I just, my studio career was built on the shoulders of people better than me, and this is built on the shoulders of people who were doing it before. But one of the things I have is I did it late. It's the unique thing is that it's my second career that I started when I was 52. So the thing about it, it's very humble work. Like when I describe to you, take your third finger on the seventh fret, bring it up to the ninth fret to match the pitch, use these fingers to push, don't be nervous, all this stuff. It's not glamorous. It's not prestigious. It's a lot. It's a kind of work that a lot of musicians aren't willing to do. But I
Mhm.
just saw a way to keep myself off the street, and keep going. And it just
It's
worked out better than I thought it would, and
it's
it is
just
very satisfying.
okay. That was my next. So, is it creatively satisfying to do
Well, I
this?
mean, yeah, I mean, it's like I'm working on a video right now where I'm using this piece of music. And I'm just trying to do my best to, in the videos, there's always musical moments that I work very hard for. Sometimes I'll do 90 takes to get a musical moment right on a YouTube video, or 14 takes. So yeah, it's very challenging and demanding and rewarding. And
And so you feel like you've left your mark. Do you feel like you've left your mark on enough music? Because you've left. I'm okay. So I just read somewhere on your thing that Iris has 5 billion streams. Is that possibly true?
it is true. You can look it up across all the streaming services, which would be Apple Music and Spotify and everything else. That's the total amount right now, and it came from a newspaper that reported it. Um, so, those moments, every musician has a few of those at, a certain point. I mean, you know,
Was that one of those moments when you were making it?
I knew that it was a great moment when I was making it, and I met Rob Cavallo on that day, and he's the one producer I still work for and don't charge because he changed my life that day and for decades afterwards. Oddly, Rob was the most loyal and the most successful producer I ever worked with, and those two things don't usually pair in the entertainment business.
Hmm.
So I go over to Rob's and I don't charge. We do stuff. He's producing a lot of young people right now, but yeah, I knew it was great when I did it. It was going to be in a great movie, and sometimes it takes. You don't know when you do a session if your part is going to get replaced by a different idea before it gets released. So you really have to wait until the record is released to know you're on
Hmm.
it. An example of that for me is I played on Michael Jackson's Black or White, and I did the bridge. Bill Bottrell played the main part, and
Hmm.
Bill brought me in to play this heavy metal part on the bridge, and Michael was there, and it was really wonderful and very safe space. Everybody was, very easy, looked me in the eye, very normal, very cool, and we did this part. But in the year that I waited for that song to come out, or 9 months, or whatever it was, I made an assumption that probably got replaced by something else because that's what happens, on those big records. Not
Right.
anymore, but they would just replace and replace and replace and. But it came out and it was on, and I got the credit, and I was able to go yay, and so it's a small part in the bridge, but it's a nice thing to tell people. But Iris, Same story. I did a solo in an electric solo in the middle and this mandolin part, and that's probably my favorite piece of music that that I've gotten to play on because it never sounds dated, you know.
No, I watched the video today. Yeah, it's still pretty fabulous. Still
Thank you.
pretty fabulous. But
Very
you've
lucky.
played on a lot of incredible music. The catalog of people that you've played with. So how often when you would go into this session would the actual artist be there?
Most of the time. So
Oh,
I would walk in and Tina Turner would be sitting there and say hello. Um, Let me think of some others. I mean, Michael was there for that thing. Phil Collins was.
Springsteen, did you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I
So what
mean,
was that like?
he's the most warm, asking me about my life and my pedal board. And, people are self-centered. That we know a lot of self-centered people. He was asking me about my life. And then it went well, and I ended up going to his house and playing on Patty Scalfa's record.
Oh,
And
fabulous.
he and her would walk from the other residence through the backyard to their studio residence in Beverly Hills, and we did her record. So yeah, it was one. He was one of Roy Bittan. He used to call me his secret weapon. He's the keyboard player in the E Street Band, and he got me on Stevie Nicks and Patti Smythe and Bruce Springsteen and all these other records. He really he would hire me all the time.
Are there certain players that stand out other than Jeff Porcaro that when you would get into a session, you would see that they were there? Oh, yeah, this is great.
Lee Sklar.
I love Lee. Yeah, he's a mother.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
And I was enamored with producers. Okay, so
So who
like
did
Patrick
that?
Leonard, I got to work with Patrick Leonard for years
Mhm.
and years, and I was just in awe of people like that. Walter Afanasieff. A lot of people don't know Walter A, but he was in the '90s. He was Mariah Carey's,
Mhm.
guru, Svengali, and other people do. Celine Dion, just writer, producer extraordinaire. Walter sang me a guitar part the first session I did with him. He said, try something like this. And the pocket of what he sang me gave me chills. In
Wow.
my ear, he said, try something like this. The pocket of what he sang made chills go up and down my spine. And I said, I don't think it's going to be that good, but I'll try it. I ended up working with him for years, just a lovely human being. He ended up coming to the house a lot for sessions here. David Foster, even though,
Mm.
I was not slick enough for him, but I really enjoyed working with David Foster.
Hmm.
So many keyboard geniuses, just loved working with them. Hmm. Yeah.
Did you work with Finnegan?
Oh yeah, we did sessions together a
Mm.
lot. Yeah, a
Mm.
lot. I used to go to Finnegan's. Finnegan lived next door to Jay Gruska, and I would go to Jay
Mhm.
Gruska's house on Landale. They would write
Mhm.
songs, and I would play on those songs. Yeah, and then we did commercials for a company together too. So yeah, loved Mike.
So getting back to one of my early questions that got lost along the way, this whole thing about improvisation. You go into a session and the future's unwritten, right?
Right.
It's not
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Where did this come from in you? Where does this come from in
It comes
you?
from my love of records. So, like I said, guitar is secondary to the song and the record. Great records. I separate the two things. A song can be great and a record can be great. You
Okay,
combine a
tell us
great
the
song with a
difference
great.
between a song. I think I know where you're going, but tell
Well,
us the
a
difference.
great record is, uh, Dark Side of the Moon. The songs are one thing, but the record takes you into outer space.
Right.
The production, you know, um, the song is somebody sitting with an acoustic guitar and playing you the melody and the lyrics. The record is Stairway to Heaven. Okay, so it's the production, the drums, the guitars, the sounds, the background vocals, everything. So if somebody has a song that's in E minor, I might play this over the chorus. That might be one part. Then the next part would be. There might be another part that's just. just look for all these different frequencies on there might be more of a, driving part. So you just keep trying stuff and see what fits together. It's orchestration,
But okay, but when you get into a session, you haven't heard the song before, right? Um, how much time do you have to?
None.
Okay, so where does all that? Because you have to come up with the exact right thing right away, right? You don't have time to just noodle around,
Well,
do
you come
you?
up with one thing. See, if all you have to do is come up with one good thing at the beginning, and everybody trusts you. So
Mm.
if they like this thing, that first thing I played you, then they trust you. And then you start orchestrating after that, and you start trying other stuff. So it's really, if you don't know the client, that first half hour is crucial to win at something. And
Hmm.
if you're out there tracking, you just find your frequency and find your part, make it simple, make it lift the song, watch their responses, make sure they like it. If they don't like it, find out right away and change it. And just do something that keeps the momentum going, and then you just keep repeating that.
And so there's always something that comes to when there's never.
Yeah, once you do it, it's essentially the same as this podcast. You didn't know what you were going to ask me, but once you start and you say that first series of 8 words to me, it all takes care of itself. It's exactly like the language we're speaking right now in this podcast. You have a language, it's a number of words that you recombine them, you get inspired by the question, the answer. In the studio, you get inspired by the bass player, the drummer, the vocal, playing around the vocal. Somebody gives you a suggestion. I mean, that's why I loved all the keyboard players, is anytime you got into trouble with something harmonically, they would go, oh, just try this. And you go, oh, yeah, that solves it. I'll do that. So if you just depend on the people in the room and get feedback, and everybody collaborates, everybody helps each other. And it's the same thing you and I are doing now. It's a vocabulary and a conversation.
Mhm.
And it's just recombining all the things you've done before.
That's this is why you're a great teacher, because you can break it down and make it very simple and comprehensible, which
Thank
is
you.
lovely because I don't know that I've ever understood improvisation quite that way before.
Yeah,
I
it's just
love
it's a
that.
vocabulary. It's a
Hmm.
vocabulary. It's just like what you and I are doing speaking right now.
So, so Tim, there's other aspects to your life that I find fascinating. How long have you been married?
42 years now, and I went back to New Mexico and met Patty at a Christmas party at a bar I used to play at, and we got married 2 years later. And Nigel, her son, was 6, and I raised him, and now he's my partner in my business. So, and now we have a grandson, which is great. And Patty was just a woman who was willing to, stand by me while I worked excessively, and keep everything safe and secure. And
What
yeah, we
does that look,
managed.
what does that look like? What does your life look like, Tim? So you started this right at the beginning. No, you started it before the pandemic. The
I
pandemic
did.
helped
Yeah,
you. But
yeah.
how
Oh, I
much
can answer
before?
that very, 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 very accurately. I work short hours 7 days a week. What that means is I work inefficiently. Nigel here is here 40 hours a week, so the weekdays are a little more productive. And then on weekends, I do 3 or 4 hours of work, and then give the second half of each day to Patty. We take vacations. We were just in New York for a week, just purely on vacation. We go to
Fabulous.
Europe. We do stuff. But I work short hours. I am very inefficient when I work, but that's where the happiness is. I was
What
telling
do
a
you mean
friend of
you
mine a
work
couple of
short
days.
hours? What does that mean?
Work is mandatory from, say, when I wake up, somewhat mandatory from when I wake up until 4 p.m. And
When
then
do you wake
sometimes
up?
I wake up at 7:30, and then I'm very lazy for the first couple hours, and then I just start easing in and work until 4 o'clock. But in that day of work, there's lunch. There is always a meditation and a nap. It's not efficient at all.
Do you exercise at all?
I walk for an hour every night. It's yeah. After dinner, I go and walk for an hour every night, and I go to the gym and I lift. It doesn't look like it, but I
No,
go to the gym and try and keep the
that's
arms from.
so you have the same discipline, it sounds like, in all these areas of your life, making time for your wife, making time for exercise, you nap, you meditate.
I wouldn't call it discipline, but I have discovered the day I want to live every day, and it's the same day every day. And unless something breaks it up, like, going to see somebody at the baked potato or going to a movie or taking a trip up north or whatever, the day I want to live the same day every day. And
Wow.
I don't, I'm not very disciplined. I do procrastinate like crazy, but
Oh, it
I have
sure
a,
doesn't sound like that.
no, well, I have a to-do list, and if I'm supposed to do something that's adult, like some admin thing with, banking thing or, appliance repair thing, I procrastinate on those things, and sometimes I procrastinate getting in front of the camera, but I always end up getting there, so it's always there's always a push between comfort and discomfort and, the agony and creativity. The other thing that's hard about this particular thing, it's hard to know what to do next. Like if I have a decision about a YouTube video that I'm going to do, if I make a mediocre decision, then I'm spending hours making something that's mediocre. So sometimes I take 2 or 3 days just to figure out what the best idea is. And I might reject an idea and lose a day by working on an idea I go, well, that's just kind of mediocre. Got to start over. So the days, it's just short hours, sporadic work every day. But the exercise comes back to what you wanted to talk about. That's my bottle of wine every night. Instead of a bottle of wine, I'm out there walking and returning phone calls. So dinner's done. I say, see you in a bit, Patty, and I go out and walk through the neighborhood and return
I
phone
was going to
calls.
say, where do you walk? Okay, so you just
In
walk
the
through the
neighborhood.
neighborhood.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you walk the same path or do you
No, it's
change?
always different. I'm like the crazy crazy older gentleman who walks the street.
Do you walk into, have you met some coyotes along your path?
They're usually coyotes. Yeah,
There are
there's
usually, I know,
usually,
there's
yeah,
all
they're
over this
usually
place here.
coyotes.
Yes.
Yep, you got it.
And so what do you do when you come across a coyote?
Um, they usually mind their own business. But one night I was walking down the street in the middle of the street, actually talking to Rick Beato on the phone. I said, Rick, there's 4 coyotes approaching me. And they were approaching me on the street in kind of a military,
Oh,
formation. And check this out. They all filed one by one to the sidewalk and passed me on the sidewalk. So maybe I was staring them down properly or something, but yeah.
now, okay, Tim, what would you do if that had not been the case with those
I would
four
have I
coyotes?
would have ran up to somebody's front door and help. I don't know.
I mean, it's because they're all over
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah,
terrifying.
I don't think they're going to go after a tall person ever. I mean, they look at you like they don't care. They're but I think they only go after dogs and small
Woohoo.
animals.
Okay, so you talked about the bottle of wine. So this is something we have in common. I know that you're a sober man. What was that about? What was your drinking using about, and when did you stop and why?
So I started when I was 12 and I would do a little of everything. And as a musician, you're not flying a commercial airliner, so you can get away with it, so it was part of the
What was your
culture.
drug of choice?
I liked alcohol, but I also liked the stimulants,
Mhm.
basically. And became successful even though I was using, as did many musicians. And it didn't
Mhm.
really affect my work in the sense that I didn't really work when I was using any kind of drug or alcohol. I did it in the evenings afterwards. So, I was sometimes very, very behind on sleep.
Okay, but you are
So,
getting on stage
no,
loaded.
no, no.
You were
But
not going into the studio loaded.
No, but going into the studio not being my best because I'd been up all night, and that was a common thing. But others who did that were more talented than me, so I wasn't talented enough to get away with that stuff. But finally, in my 30s, I was able to realize that it was getting too destructive, and I was able to stop.
No bottom to speak of, no incident.
No, it it was just too hard on the marriage and too hard on everything.
Hmm.
So, and
So one day, that's it, I'm done.
Well, it took a little longer than that. It was touch and go for a little while, but I went to this wonderful place called Quality Problems, this meeting, and Snuffy was there. The first meeting I went to, Snuffy was there. So
Hmm.
we go full circle. And I used to listen to Snuffy and Stray Dog when I was a kid, so
It's
he's a
crazy.
hero of mine and a hero for being, at that time he was like the busiest TV composer in the
Hmm.
world and, managing a lot and doing it gracefully. And it was like, I looked at him and it was like, oh, that's the man I need to be. So it was great.
And now he's watching you and taking your classes.
Yeah. If you'd have told me when I was a kid, looking at him on the Stray Dog record and listening to his guitar playing, and that I would be friends with him, that's great. People should always pursue their dreams because sometimes they can happen. They happen really late sometimes, but it's
Yeah, but it
almost better
seems
that way
like
sometimes.
you've lived a lot lot of dreams.
A
You
couple,
got to
yeah,
have the big
yeah,
touring thing.
yeah.
And so I didn't get to ask you that question. Did you have a Live Aid? I mean, was it not completely thrilling to walk out on that stage?
Well, as a sideman, uh,
Mm.
every gig, I guess I was too cynical to really. I mean, I'll give you a positive answer. There's not that much difference between the first 50 rows uh, in a stadium like that and the first 50 rows in an auditorium. So you kind of are going to do the same thing whether there's 12 people or 12,000 or 120,000. That's one thing, but if it's not your brand and you're not singing,
Mm.
the songs that you wrote, um, it's a different experience. And for me, it wasn't exactly what I wanted. I'm proud of it, and it's an amazing thing, but I didn't crave it. I didn't need to keep doing it.
It wasn't particular. Was it fun when you were up there?
Always, yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
And so now that you've got this whole business going on, do you ever get together with other musicians just to play or is
I'm
that?
I want to again. I've kind of given that up for the moment, but
Hmm.
when I go over to Rob Cavallo's and we do a tracking session, we play together then. And occasionally I do. Oh, I played at the Baked Potato with Andrew Sinowick. So this
I was
guy,
going to ask
Andrew,
that. Do you ever
yeah,
play
I did
out?
recently. So yeah, I
Mhm.
do. I don't do a lot of it, but I want to start doing more again because I'm ready. I'm ready. Andrew invites me to do his gigs, and his music is so complicated. I work really hard to learn it, and we did good. I was okay on that night. It was like a month ago or 6 weeks ago, and it was nice. I invited, so many of my friends and family. It was really fun.
Well, please let us know the next time you're going to be in a
Well,
club.
you guys were on your way to see the Who that night.
Oh, that was, okay, so let's talk about Pete Townsend for a moment
Okay.
because how do you feel about Pete?
Always loved him. Crazy amazing sounds. And the fact that when you listen to his song demos, it's basically the singing, the playing, the production that you hear on a Who record.
Hmm.
He makes a demo that's basically him doing the entire production and singing all the melodies. That's when I knew, oh, this guy is not to diminish the role of the other musicians in Roger Daltrey, but he sings Roger Daltrey's parts when he makes a demo.
Hmm.
I mean, how do you even, that's the tip of the iceberg. So when you see him on stage, it's the tip of the iceberg. So yeah, I just an amazing guitar player, not, and his lead playing is, I've emulated that lead playing. I mean, he's known for his rhythm playing, but I've emulated that lead playing. And
When he goes down to the other end of the guitar and starts doing things, do you know what I'm talking
yeah,
about?
yeah, down here, yeah.
No, no, he
Oh,
goes the
here.
other way.
Okay.
No, past the stop. Oh,
Oh,
to
down here?
no, go the other way, all the way the other way. There. He goes there. But no, but he starts doing all kinds of
No,
crazy things there.
I don't know.
Like really
I better
crazy
check that
things.
out.
He did it live. It's wild because I saw them first about 8 years ago, and with an orchestra. And I can't remember if they did Tommy or Quadrophenia. They did one of them all the way through, and it was fantastic. But then
Yeah.
I saw them about 3 or 4 years ago, and Pete was just in pure form, and he was doing all this crazy stuff, and he was still doing this and jumping. But then we saw them just, last month, a couple months ago, and it wasn't Pete anymore. It wasn't that Pete anymore. He had passed off a lot of his parts, and
Well, that's life, right? This is I
we're
have a
getting older.
yeah, I have a friend who talks about the great unwinding, and we all have to take that journey. But you guys, Snuffy would have come. You would have been there if it hadn't been for the Who, because I talked to him and he knew.
Well,
But you guys,
please tell us next time.
I
We'd
will
love to be
definitely.
there. So,
Yeah.
so how many, let's say I sign up for the master class because
Uh-huh.
I am a professional musician, and I'm going to find how many videos up there?
Right now we have 3,000 videos. We keep adding them, and
And how
there's
often you're adding? About once a week you're adding
no,
about.
no, that's the YouTube channel. So the
Oh,
master class, it's more sporadic. Like what I can say accurately is that we add new videos throughout the year in the master class. Those are
well, you
behind
have
the paywall.
3,000. You've got plenty.
Yeah, 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 it's already bigger. The idea is the guitar player can't find the edges of it no matter what, which in some ways is not the greatest thing, but I just want them to have a lot of value, and we keep adding other guitar players, and I
Do
keep
people
adding
ever come
videos.
to you and say, "Hey, Tim, could you show me how to do this?" And then you turn it into a master class? I mean, does it ever happen that way?
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. If it's an idea that I think a number of people would like to know about, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. Have you dissected your own work for people?
I think that's what you do. I think that's exactly what I'm doing. It's to be able to talk about what you're doing takes a while, it takes a couple of years. That's why I didn't do a beginner's course. I mean, I went like 8 years before I did a beginner's course. I thought, okay, I can finally do this. So yeah, that was the hardest thing to take on, really, because how do
That
you
must
talk?
require a lot of patience for you to do the
Well, here's
beginners.
the thing. It did in the beginning, but I have to say this now. It's almost like I have said this to a friend of mine, and it sounds a little corny, but when I teach for the master class, I don't have to entertain. When I do YouTube, you have to entertain and keep people engaged. Right now, we
Right.
have to keep a pace. We have to keep a pace right now. But when you're teaching guitar, when I teach guitar in the master class, it's almost like being in a warm bath because I don't have to entertain. The slower I go, the more boring it is, the more just easy and slow it is, the better for everybody. So it's pretty wonderful that way. It's almost like therapy doing lessons for the master class because I do not have to entertain. It's
That's so
wonderful.
wonderful. And have you had anybody come to you and say, because I took your class, I'm now doing this?
Well, what happens is when I go to NAM, I meet a lot of people from all over the world who are appreciative. And I'll give you a couple of examples. We went to the Burbank airport this summer, and two gentlemen waiting around thanked me for the lessons in the master class. Then we got to the hotel in Santa Rosa, and a man came down the elevator with his family and said, "Oh man, thank you so much for the master class." And then we were in New York on vacation, and we went into a restaurant, and the maitre d' said, "You look like an amazing guitar player." And so he knew, and there was somebody else in New York also, another person in the elevator from Austin, Texas. We were in Girona, Spain, and a guy on a bicycle came to a stop right in front of us and said, "You're Tim Pierce." So it's finally a way for people to reach people. So they don't say, "Wow, you changed my life," but they do say, "You really helped me." But that might just be YouTube videos, but it might be the master class. But it was an unexpected gift of being able to do this. It's
So
really
what is so
wonderful.
what are the YouTube video? What are you doing on the YouTube videos? These entertaining YouTube videos
Well, you do a
that's
little
different from
teaching.
your master
Yeah,
class.
so in the beginning, YouTube, this is something that we touched on before we started filming. YouTube was very easy when I started. I started about 12 years ago, and it was really easy when Marty
What does
Schwartz
that mean?
started.
It was easy.
You could just post a lesson of you teaching Lagrange by ZZ Top, and it would immediately get like a ton of views. But now it's so crowded and so saturated and so
Mhm.
full of noise and good noise and bad noise and whatever.
Hmm.
It's huge now. So
Right.
now the audience is numb and they need clickbait. So you have to put, this is the greatest guitar in the world, or you have to put, you know,
Oh, so it's about your wordage that.
the words and the thumbnail. And those can
Mm,
be, once you release the video, you can change those out. And we all do
r-
that. I make thumbnails, it's very time consuming, but I make multiple thumbnails, which is for the audience. This is the
right.
photo that appears next to the title. And then your title needs to have trigger words or people won't click on it. So
You
it's
know,
very
I
competitive.
have refused to do this, which is why I am not successful on
Well, try it. I
YouTube.
mean, because I've seen people refuse to do it, and then once they start doing it, then the numbers go up. It's disappointing because people, you'd think you take the high road and nobody pays attention, and then just change it to something very, very,
Like, give us
uh,
an example of one of your titles.
well, it's just talk amongst yourself for 1 second while I pull up my channel,
Okay,
and
so we're going to look at Tim's studio now. So,
yeah.
I imagine during COVID, you were like the busiest person on the planet.
Well, session work kind of stopped a little bit, but
Yeah,
I
but
knew
you
at
were
that.
doing this.
Exactly, yeah. I was able to do this, and okay, so I'm gonna give you my latest video. I
Mhm.
put amateur mistakes weekend guitar players make, okay? And the reason that works is because people get triggered by the word amateur, and weekend guitar player is a word that triggers people too. So I'm making people feel a little bad for a second, then they turn on the video and I make them feel great. Okay.
Wait, so now where do you learn how to do this wordage stuff?
From my, Rick Beato and I talk about this stuff multiple times a week. I've made titles for him. Um, he said, call, go, my video's not doing well. Give me a title. That's rare because he's the best there is. But okay, so the circle of people that I'm in the guitar space, we all do this. So 1 month ago,
Uh-huh.
a famous guitar company stole my idea, and it worked. And these are my friends at Heritage Guitars. A
Okay, so
famous
Tim,
company stole my idea, and that
Tim,
worked.
what do I call this that's going to get people, instead of just saying Tim Pierce on Game Changers with Vicki Abelson, which is what I do, which is totally lame. What do I do?
I'll send you a couple of titles.
All right, and I'm going to share them with the audience because this, can you come up with one right now that would, just an idea. It doesn't have to be
Uh,
the one, but like
Tim
what,
Pierce. Tim Pierce goes off the rails.
and it doesn't have to be true.
It's never true, really. I mean, it's like, I
Interesting.
mean, there might be some truth in it. I've got Phil X gets angry. Phil X tones secrets. There was one I did about being really busy, and I put Shakira on the cover, on the thumbnail, because it was about being busy, and so it's me with next to Shakira, and I say, the hardest day of my life, and then parentheses, stories I shouldn't tell. That is the ultimate.
Oh
Okay,
my God.
so it's me and
Was there
her.
any of that in there?
Yeah, because that was one of the worst gigs I ever did. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was, and so yeah, that was true. It was the hardest week of my life. Yeah, yeah. Any
wow.
musician who worked with her would say the same thing. But so that's just
So
clickbait,
I could
and
say Tim Pierce sharing secrets or something like that.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Secrets you don't know. Okay. I'm gonna give this a try.
yeah.
This is what my son does for a living that I don't understand. So, okay, this is
You can
good.
ask him about clickbait and see what happens. Oh,
I
and
have,
look I put the word brutal on the thumbnail. So the hardest day of my life. I hope you can see that.
oh,
See
I
the word
see, I
brutal?
see.
The hardest day of my life, brutal. So that's probably as good as it gets.
Wow, I never put wordage on the
You don't have to,
thumbnail.
but you can. I mean, you can
But
play with
it
this stuff.
sounds like a good idea.
Well, and you can do it 100 times after you've released the video. You can just change it
I don't
constantly.
even know if I know how to put wordage on a thumbnail. I have to look into that.
Find a kid to show you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I need my son to show. Well, this is very educated. See, you're teaching me. You're a teacher. You're a natural
Happy
born teacher.
happy to do it.
Well, Tim, I'm so happy to have had this opportunity to get to know you a little bit, and I look forward to knowing you better, and I really look forward to coming and hearing you play. So I hope
Let's
you
do it all, and I'd love to come back on anytime. And
absolutely.
congrats on having
You're
a.
gonna give us secrets. You're gonna teach us things
Okay,
because you have so much more to teach than just guitar.
absolutely. Okay, you got
Thank
it.
you so